A phone rings inside a quiet hotel room in London. On the other end is a routine call. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that would make anyone stop and think. But what nobody realizes is that within the next 72 hours, an entire nation will begin living on one person's schedule. Millions of alarms will be set before sunrise. Coffee will replace sleep. Streets will be unusually quiet in the early morning because people will be glued to their screens, holding their breath over every single point. And at the center of it all is a young woman quietly tying the laces of her tennis shoes. She has no idea that she's about to become one of the biggest sporting stories her country has ever seen. Because just days earlier, almost nobody was talking about Alex Eala. Before Wimbledon, predictions were everywhere. Sports analysts debated the favorites. Fans argued over former champions. Headlines focused on Grand Slam winners and top-ranked stars expected to dominate the tournament. Alex's name barely appeared. She wasn't the headline. She wasn't the favorite. She wasn't even considered a serious threat. To most casual fans, she was simply another player buried deep in the draw. Easy to overlook, easy to underestimate. But sports has a funny habit of rewarding the people everyone ignores. Sometimes history doesn't announce itself. It quietly walks onto the court while everyone is looking somewhere else. Alex had spent years preparing for moments exactly like this. Long before cameras followed her every move, she had already sacrificed countless hours on practice courts. Long before interviews and headlines, there were lonely training sessions, exhausting travel schedules, painful defeats, and the constant pressure of proving she belonged among the world's best. Those moments rarely make the highlight reels. People celebrate victories. They almost never see the years spent earning the chance to compete for them. When Wimbledon finally began, Alex carried none of the expectations placed on the tournament's biggest stars. Ironically, that became one of her greatest advantages. The opening match came and went faster than most people expected. She won. There were no breaking news alerts, no viral celebrations, just another result on the scoreboard. Back home in the Philippines, only a small group of loyal supporters noticed. A few tennis fans refreshed the live scores. Some congratulated each other online. Then life moved on, at least for the moment, because sometimes the biggest stories don't explode overnight. They grow quietly, one victory at a time. Then came the second match. Once again, Alex won. This time something felt different. People who hadn't paid attention during the opening round suddenly became curious. A screenshot of the result appeared inside family group chats. Friends started asking one another, "Who exactly is Alex Eala?" Sports pages that had ignored her a few days earlier suddenly began mentioning her name. It wasn't excitement yet. It was curiosity. And curiosity can spread incredibly fast. With every point she won, more eyes slowly turned toward Wimbledon. Not because anyone expected history, but because people love discovering someone before everyone else does. By now, the conversations had changed. Maybe this wasn't just another tournament appearance. Maybe something unexpected was beginning. Still, nobody could predict what was about to happen. Then came another match, and another victory. Now people weren't simply checking scores anymore. They were actually watching. Something about Alex stood out immediately. It wasn't flashy celebrations. It wasn't emotional outbursts. It wasn't dramatic interviews. It was her composure. Point after point, she carried herself with remarkable calm. Pressure seemed unable to shake her. While opponents reacted emotionally after crucial rallies, Alex looked almost unchanged. Focused, patient, confident. Commentators started noticing. This young player doesn't seem intimidated. She looks incredibly composed. She's playing far beyond her years. Those observations quickly became one of the biggest talking points of the tournament. Because talent attracts attention, but composure under pressure earns respect. The deeper Alex advanced, the harder she became to ignore. Analysts started reviewing her previous performances. Broadcasters displayed her statistics more frequently. Her name, once buried near the bottom of tournament discussions, suddenly appeared during primetime sports coverage. Every match answered one question, only to create two more. Who is she? How is she doing this? Can she actually keep winning? Nobody knew. And that uncertainty became irresistible. Across the Philippines, something unusual started happening. People who had never watched an entire tennis match suddenly found themselves searching for Wimbledon schedules. Office workers secretly refreshed live scores during meetings. Students checked updates between classes. Families gathered around televisions late into the night. For many of them, this wasn't really about tennis anymore. It was about possibility. Every victory challenged an old belief that moments like these belonged only to countries with long tennis traditions. Alex wasn't just competing against world-class opponents. She was quietly rewriting expectations. Then the pressure increased. Every round raised the stakes. Every victory made headlines larger. The media attention grew almost overnight. Television interviews multiplied. International reporters wanted to know more about the young Filipino creating one of the tournament's biggest surprises. The cameras that had ignored her during the opening days now followed her everywhere. Practice sessions, warm-ups, walks through the grounds. Every small moment suddenly mattered. This is where many breakthrough athletes begin to struggle. Fame changes everything. The spotlight grows brighter. Expectations become heavier. One outstanding performance suddenly becomes the standard everyone expects you to repeat. History is filled with talented athletes who reached one magical tournament, only to disappear beneath the enormous pressure that followed. Now Alex faced the same challenge. Could she keep playing freely when millions of eyes were suddenly watching every move? Could she stay calm while carrying the hopes of an entire nation? Nobody knew the answer. But one thing had become impossible to deny. The quiet player nobody noticed just days earlier was rapidly becoming the biggest story at Wimbledon. And what happened next would make sporting history. The celebrations eventually faded. The cameras moved on. The grass courts of Wimbledon grew quiet once again. But Alex Eala's story was far from over. In fact, it was only entering its most difficult chapter. Because winning people's hearts is one thing. Living up to their expectations is something entirely different. After her unforgettable Wimbledon run, everything changed overnight. She was no longer the overlooked underdog quietly making her way through a tournament draw. Now she was the player everyone wanted to watch. Every opponent began studying her matches more carefully. Coaches analyzed her strengths. Experts searched for weaknesses. The element of surprise that had carried her through the early rounds was gone. Now came the real challenge, proving that Wimbledon wasn't just a magical moment, but the beginning of something much bigger. And that's where the pressure truly begins. Fans only see the roaring crowds, the television interviews, and the emotional celebrations. What they rarely see are the lonely mornings that follow. The empty practice courts before sunrise, the endless drills, the sore muscles, the quiet hours spent chasing improvement while nobody is watching. That's where champions are made, not under bright stadium lights, but in silence. Soon, another challenge appeared on the horizon. The tour was moving away from grass. Hard courts were next. A completely different surface, different movement, different timing, different strategy. Grass rewards quick reactions and low bounces. Hard courts demand patience, endurance, and consistency. Everything Alex had built during Wimbledon would now be tested in an entirely new environment. Could she adapt again? Could she handle even greater expectations? Nobody knew, and that uncertainty only made fans even more invested in her journey. But while the tennis world focused on rankings and future tournaments, something even bigger was quietly happening back home. Across the Philippines, tennis courts that once sat nearly empty were suddenly filled with children carrying rackets for the very first time. Parents who had never imagined tennis as a realistic dream for their kids were now searching for local coaches. Training programs reported growing interest. Young players who once dreamed only of basketball or volleyball suddenly had a new hero to look up to. Alex hadn't just inspired fans. She had inspired future athletes. That's the kind of impact no trophy can measure. Because records are eventually broken, titles eventually change hands. But inspiring an entire generation? That lasts far longer. Somewhere on a cracked public court, another young girl is probably swinging a racket today because she watched Alex compete at Wimbledon. Somewhere, another family has started believing that impossible dreams might actually be possible. That may become Alex Eala's greatest victory. Looking back, it's incredible how quietly this story began. One ordinary hotel room, one ordinary tournament, One player almost nobody expected to make headlines. Then, almost without warning, an entire nation found itself holding its breath together. Millions of people changed their daily routines. Families gathered around televisions before sunrise. An airport overflowed with supporters waiting to welcome home someone who had become a symbol of hope. Not because she won the championship, but because she proved something far more powerful. She proved that belief can change everything. The next chapter remains unwritten. There will be tougher opponents, harder tournaments, painful defeats, and hopefully, even greater victories. But one thing has already been proven beyond any doubt. Alex Eala didn't just change the conversation around Philippine tennis. She changed what an entire country believes is possible. And perhaps that's the greatest legacy any athlete could ever leave. Because long after the cheers fade and the headlines disappear, hope has a remarkable way of staying alive. And Alex Eala's story is only just beginning.